Hello, folks. Welcome back. Welcome back to the RCD YouTube channel. My name is Ian. Today I'm joined by Dave to share about our experience, our findings last week at the National Accessibility Week. We had 5 fun days of discussions, each day with different theme, and it was all done up by this man right here, Dave. And I'll ask him bit by bit of, first of all, how he came up with all these different themes and what were the findings at the end of the week. Dave, welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Now, first, let me just ask you, just briefly, for some of those who were not aware of last week, what was so special about last week?
Last week is National Accessibility Week throughout Canada. There was even commercials on CBC television I saw. And basically it's a week of awareness and sharing to try and get more access to the whole community, remove barriers. And it's much more than bathrooms and parking spots anymore.
Definitely. And I understand you had a theme for last week. In fact, you had 5 themes for each of the day. What were the themes?
Well, the theme of the whole week was called Accessibility from A to Z. And the reason I sort of came up with that is I have an invisible disability. And when I moved to the city where we are in Richmond, I didn't know the city very well. I couldn't drive because of my illness. And when I found RCD and they had this wall of pamphlets on this wall, and it gave me a window into what I would probably have to deal with in the next 20 some years of my disability. But it was just great for me to be able to come in there and just stuff in my pocket, go home, figure it out. And I didn't have to try to navigate through the city to find all those same things. But I didn't have a very easy way of doing it. I didn't know the city at all. I didn't grow up here. And so I've always sort of told people that story about how I started here as a participant before a staff member. And because we've been moving so much, we've lost that wall. We couldn't keep it going because of all our different moves. And so when we are opening our new location, when we move back in the start of 2026, I hope to make this kind of my pet project of bringing it back to life.
Awesome. So let's talk about Monday. First of all, you had a theme for Monday, correct? What was that theme?
Well, what we wanted to do was get down as many activities that we could think of through people that have different barriers. And we had 4 different theme days that were coming up. Okay. And so there was sport. The first one was daily living and just sort of daily living and life, grooming, personal grooming, all those sort of stuff you do in your house that a lot of people don't see.
Okay.
Then we did sports and exercise.
Okay.
And then employment and education. And then Friday was hobbies and lifestyle.
I see. So Monday was like an intro.
Yeah, Monday was building the list.
I see. Okay.
So we built a list from A to Z for each one of those. And we just sat there thinking of what kind of things do you do in your daily living? And then we sort of focused on the things that could be a problem. A lot of the stuff like grooming, combing your hair, all those things that there is some adaptive equipment and whatnot for.
Excellent.
And the document that we're going to be building is looking at where you can find it, or what it is, where you can find it, and some of the stuff that you do isn't accessible yet. But, I can't just believe, I was just thinking when you're getting prepped of how many things have become accessible just when I was been working here, right? And so I always think, be patient. The tech is changing and everything's changing so fast. Write it down, and if it doesn't exist now, check every year.
So I understand our members dropped by and they took part in our discussions, and we took notes. We compiled a big list. There's probably too much to share in this video with our viewers, but maybe just name some of the highlights of the findings during this whole week. Maybe a short summary of your findings and share it with our viewers.
Yeah, so we at RCD, a lot of times, I always think that we like to collaborate a lot. We like cooperation and we like to problem solve. And one of our big sort of things that we've always done is networking and referral. So if you come here, because we work multidiscipline or disabilities, we don't just know one disability. We may not know everything, but we kind of know a little bit of everything. So we can get you started on that route. You may have to get more specialized later on, but we can at least point you in the first right direction. So one of the big things that we learned that I was kind of saddened by a little bit and challenged at the same way is that this barrier sort of still exists, is that sometimes the toughest thing is just knowing it exists.
Right.
So you may not find out that this thing is available. I still have people, things that I've been telling people for 10 or 15 years, and then I'll still run into someone who'll go, I never knew that existed. Right? and it's challenging, and it sort of keeps me motivated to keep telling these, the stuff. And it's challenging because it's like, oh, I didn't know that existed. Or I wish I knew about that 5 years ago. That would have really helped. So you have to really keep.
What's one example of that? Like
a perfect
about it, but a lot of people don't.
A perfect example is, I think almost 15 years ago, we brought a lady into RCD. She was Eastern European from the Netherlands or something, and she had invented this thing called the A-Linker. It was a walking 3-wheel bike with no pedal. And she invented it because she took her mom on a Alaska cruise, and her mom had to use a standard traditional walker. And she saw her mom struggle between the different uneven floors when he went onto tenders and whatnot. But the biggest thing that she saw was that her mom was always 2 feet lower than everyone else in a conversation because she had to sit on this walker. She always had to sit up like this. And so she invented this thing. It's been around. It's been around for 10 or 15 years, and she was wallowing in not being able to make too many and it costing way too much. It was like $5,000. And then just about a year ago, she got lucky. An actress who has MS bought one from her and got awarded a Golden Globe and walked across the stage for 15 seconds with it. Okay. And her business shot.
Right.
Her sales went through the roof and the price went down. It's now something that a lot of people can get. But it took years, right? And I'm like, gee, I remember trying one of these things out a good 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And still I'm surprising people with it. Hey, have you ever seen this? Right? So that's how long sometimes these things can take.
Yeah. Awesome.
So yeah, that was the big thing is that, oh, you've never heard of this? You've never seen it? Right? And you've just got to, if you find out something, you just keep telling them, right? Okay. One of the other things that I like here is that we sometimes do problems by committee, and the more years that it sort of passes through kind of thing, the more people may be able to not fix one thing, but they have an element of it, right? And so sometimes the biggest problems are solved with little small creative solutions, right?
Okay.
With me, I know I had to think up a lot of my gadgets and adaptive stuff from just lying down on the ground or flipping something over and seeing it from a different angle. So that was, I think, another thing that I talked to a lot of people about this week. And and then of course, a lot of times there's barriers to adaption. Sometimes it's from either the person, it's him or herself or whatever, or it's from society, right? A perfect example is the old adage, if you go to a job and you start doing something, but it's a little different, and everyone comes and goes, oh, that's not the way we do things here. Yep. And it's like, well, why? This is easier. And then people start watching and go, hey, that is easier, right? People get stuck in silos, they call it.
Perspective,
yeah. And they need someone to sort of go, hey, I could be using that. And, perfect example is voice software, right? My wife has been typing for over 30 years, and her wrists and whatnot else. She could have used voice software a long time ago. But until she, a doctor kind of says, stop typing, she may not ever use it. But it could help you. But if you see someone in your office using it, and you go, oh, I don't have to ice my wrists every night when I go home. Right? But as people, as humans, a lot of times we don't do things that are good for us until we are forced to have to do it. Right? And a lot of times I met with a man here that had a terrible fall when he was in Hong Kong. And he's been traumatized by it. And it's been really holding him back from trying to get back into his life. And I said, well, do you use a cane? And he said, no, my dad thinks I'm way too young for a cane.
Okay.
And it's like, if
more
it
about the
helps,
image, what other people are thinking
if
of
it helps, use it, right? And you get past that. So there's a lot of barriers that people may not understand to adaption and access.
What's another highlight? We want to keep this video short, so just tell me one or two more highlights from last week, and then we'll wrap it up.
The big thing is that I think is just realizing and sort of promoting the fact that we're way past bathrooms and parking spots. Right. It accesses so many more things, and there's so many things out there that it can be a powerful thing. I know the first thing that I used so I could help my wife with things when I was really sick was one of those reacher grabber things. I could now take one job away from her that I couldn't do before, and that was extremely empowering. But access means different things to different people, right? So, and it can be really connected emotionally. And I think, like I said at the start, my biggest sort of tips would be, if it's not there, ask. Okay. Ask those questions. Write it down if you have a memory challenge or anything like that, and revisit it. Put a reminder. And because with the way tech is going and the way these things are going, you never know. It could be there in 6 months.
Now, for our viewers, how can they find out, well, they have this issue. Now, how can they find out what can help them, what can assist them?
Well, that's what the plan is with this list, is to take it to a lot of the outdoor events and things that we get invited to for the rest of this year. And then we're hoping to add it into something with our new opening of a new location. They can always come and access us and me and ask these questions. And I can give you connections to stuff that I look at online and different forums that things like the life hacking movement is one, just to throw it out there. Is just the way, you get these things going, oh wow, just think, don't give up. If the thing is just meant for one thing, maybe don't ask what it's meant for, because that closes your brain, right? If you just look at it and go, this could be this if I turned it like that, and you get that sort of mindset.
Okay, so there you go, folks. If you have any questions at all, you can always connect with Dave through the RCD website, rcdrichmond.org, right up there. And you can always find our contact information on our website. Now, before we wrap up, Dave, do you have any last things to say to our audience?
Yeah, just look for us out and about, and we'll be asking people to give us more input on things they've tried, things that they would like fixed, or if there's is there something for this or that. But again, just ask the questions and keep asking.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, folks. This is a short video. I know. We'll have more video coming up soon. Thanks for sticking around. I will see you all soon. Bye now.